Now, let's move on. The third player, of course, is Djokovic. He has been extremely dominant. And let's talk about him a little bit and what makes him the player that he is. So he's got 17 Grand Slams. He's a little bit younger than both Nadal and Federer. He has a winning record against both Nadal and Federer. And so he came up at a time when baseline tennis was now becoming the dominant way of playing. But he did something in my mind that changed that added something to baseline tennis, right? And that is that Djokovic slides on the hard court just the way players slide on the clay court. And for the same reason it gives you a big advantage on clay, it also gives you a huge advantage on hard court. It's just very difficult to do, right? And it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of flexibility. It takes a lot of balance, right? But he has perfected this sort of hitting both his forehands and his backhands with open stance, right? And so when you hit a ball to the corner and he has to go out, right? He's going to take that ball with an open stance. He's going to slide to a stop. Even though he's sliding, he's able to hit a huge ground stroke off of that position. And then he's able to get right back to the middle of the court. So he has a defensive skill that nobody else in men's tennis has, right? Where he's able to get out to balls that are hit to the corner, whether it's off of his forehand side or his backhand side. He's able to slide in an open stance position and get that wide ball, and even on the stretch, still be able to hit a really good groundie, right? Which takes tremendous strength and flexibility with your legs, right? And body control in order to hit a big ground stroke, even in a position where you're a little bit off center, and then get right back into the play. And so that allows him, when he wants to play a fairly defensive style of tennis, and players just aren't able to hit winners against him, right? He hits a big enough groundie that he's limiting your ability to attack him, and he can go corner to corner, ball after ball, sliding in an open stance position, and still hitting a huge ground stroke. And it's amazing to watch, right? And in order to do that, you have to have a specific set of skills, right? And so we've learned that one of the things we know about Djokovic is he's sort of a yoga master. So he clearly, it's not something that he just was born with, right? He developed this sort of balance and flexibility that allows him to slide in an open stance position. And even when he's a little bit off balance, still hit a really big ground stroke and get right back into the point. And because of that, he's an extremely difficult player to beat, right? If you hit a winner against Djokovic, you're hitting huge, right? Because he just covers the court better right now at this point in men's tennis than any other player. Now, he also has, a number of other skills that make him sort of unique. So in my opinion, Djokovic is the best return of serve of any player in the history of men's tennis. And it's not just that he's a great returner and he gets the ball back, but he's able to attack off of the return. So let me make a comparison. Nadal is also a great returner of serve, right? Now he does it a lot differently than Djokovic, and I think Djokovic is a better returner, and let me explain why. So Nadal stands all the way back at the far end of the court, and that gives him time, right? So it allows him to get to the ball, but of course his stroke isn't going to be as aggressive because you now have, the server now has a lot more time, right, to get in position for that return. Whereas with Djokovic, he's returning right from the baseline. So he's much closer to the net than Nadal. And Nadal has a tendency often to just put the ball back in play. Djokovic isn't doing that. He's taking the ball early and he's attacking. He's putting you in a defensive position even off of your serve. And that's extremely difficult to do. And it's why Djokovic is such an elite player, right? That he has, first of all, these amazing defensive skills that allow him to hang in any rally against any player. But he even is able to neutralize your serve and often attack it because his return of serve is so good. And, you know, let's give Djokovic credit, right? If you look at his, matchups, right? He has a winning record against Federer. He has a winning record against Nadal. And specifically, if you look at the last 5 years, again, going from 2015 till now, Djokovic has played Nadal 13 times, and he's won 10 of those matches, and Nadal's won 3 of those matches. So if you look at that statistically, I think it's fair to say that Djokovic has really sort of dominated Nadal. Even if you just look at the clay court events, they're even, right? So if you just look at the clay court events over the last 5 years, I think they're 3-3. But if you take all of the matches that they've played over the last 5 years, Djokovic has won 10 and Nadal has won 3. And to me, that also shows something a little bit about tennis, and that is tennis is constantly evolving. And the style that Nadal plays really isn't being played that much any longer. And by that, I mean, I would call Nadal kind of a pure baseline player. Where I would say a player like Djokovic doesn't just sit at the baseline, right? Is more likely to attack, more likely to come to the net, more likely to play down the line than sort of the cross-court style that you're going to get from Nadal. And these, again, are sort of the evolution of the game. And I think when you look at the last 5 years, it's not surprising that Federer and Djokovic have better records than Nadal because their skill set is better suited towards the way men's tennis is going, right? Where you can't just sort of sit at the baseline and rally points out. You have to have the offensive skills that allow you to attack, allow you to shorten the point, and allow you to come to the net when it's appropriate. And of course, you have to say all the same things about Djokovic, that he is an extremely good competitor. He doesn't have quite the mental positivity that Nadal and Federer have, right? You are going to see Djokovic sometimes, get angry. You're going to see him get down on himself. You're going to see him yell at his coach. Stuff that you're not going to see Federer and Nadal do. But he is still a very tough mental player. And one of the things that's really interesting about Djokovic is that when he gets into these matches, right? Third set of a 3-setter or fifth set of a 5-setter, or at a time when the match is on the line and the big points. One of the things that Djokovic does is he plays more aggressively, right? And it's interesting to watch him play because most of the time he plays a very, what I'd call a safe style of play. He's not going to make many mistakes. He hits a good ball, but he's not somebody that goes for the line. And he doesn't generally go for outright winners. But more than either Federer or Nadal, in the biggest points, of any match, Djokovic's tendency is to be aggressive and to go for the winner. And he has the skill set to do that. So in my opinion, in those critical points, right? Break point up, break point down, set point, match point. Djokovic is more likely to be aggressive, way more than Nadal, but even more so than Federer. And that's a particularly strong trait in terms of winning matches, that your opponent knows that even in the most stressful points of the match, this guy will go for a flat out winner, and he won't hesitate to do that. And he has the confidence and he has the skills to make it work. So it's not surprising that these three guys, with all the talent and all the skill and all the ability that they have been as dominant as they are. What is extremely rare is that they all came along at the same time, and they've all, I believe, pushed each other and made each other better players. And what a lucky treat for us fans, right? To be in an era where we have players that are so good, so talented, so consistent, and we get to see that every Grand Slam without fail. I just feel really fortunate, and it will be really sad and who knows when this is going to happen, but it's got to happen, in the next couple years, right? I think Federer, it can't play that much longer. So we're going to see these, new younger players come up, and it'll be good for tennis to have some new blood. But I will definitely miss the great tennis and the consistency that I've seen from these players. So before I finish, let me just talk a little bit about some of the new young players that are coming up that hopefully will step into the shoes of these three great champions. So I think the most obvious one is Dominic Thiem. He already won the US Open. He's already been to 2 French finals. He seems to be clearly one of those players that'll be there. I think that Medvedev is also likely to be in that group. He went to the US Open final last year. He had that amazing streak where I think he went to 7 finals in a row. He's really competitive, young. He's also, very tall and still very fast, and plays great defensive tennis. I think Stefano Tsitsipas has shown us that he's also going to be in that group, that he's a great young player, still getting better. Took Djokovic to 5 sets in the semifinal. Very impressive accomplishment. And then there's this young guy, Sinner, who also seems like he may be one of those young guns that is going to come up and be a great player. And then the other player that comes to mind is Felix. But anyway, I think for all of us, we have some great tennis ahead of us, and that we need to appreciate every Grand Slam and every year that we continue to get to see these three great champions play. At the same time, still keeping our eyes on these new young players that are pretty soon going to step into those big footsteps. All right, that's it for now. Thanks.